Hello everybody, Ryan Kurzak here of Asheville Vedic Astrology. I just want to take a moment to talk about the upcoming Astrological Apprenticeship course, which will begin in January of 2018, January, February of 2018. Currently, our class is almost full, and at this time we have not only a year 1 class running, but also a year 2 class running and a year 3 class running for 2018. So that's a lot of classes, it's a lot of work. And this is a 4-year program. So what I'm going to be doing is I believe that this year, 2018, this will be the last year I accept astrological apprenticeship students, hopefully for just 1 year. Meaning I might skip the following year. And the reason this is the case is because I need to make sure that I have enough time to spend with our current roster of students to make sure that their papers are being written well, that they're able to attend to their projects well, and that they're learning the information well. So I'm going to put on hold any other admissions to the apprenticeship program. Probably I'm going to skip 2019. I may skip 2020. It depends on how this works. Because, well, we have a lot of good students going through the program. They're doing very well, but as with all things, some folks get involved in the program. They realize the time that's required to be put towards the program, and so managing family, managing work responsibilities, and so on. Some folks get into it, and after a year, year and a half, they say, look, this is too much. I can't write all these papers. I can't do these projects, so maybe I'll continue at another time. So I understand that we might have some turnover with students in the next couple years. However, it's not necessarily been the case so far. Most students have stuck with it pretty well. And for me, that's a lot of work because as you've probably read in the apprenticeship course description, and if you haven't, I'll put a link to that below this video in the information section. Students are typically required to write 2 pages per class. There are 3 classes per year. There are also quizzes throughout the class. And they have to very much meet a certain level of expertise, but they also have to do their work at a college level. And I've only had a few students so far, so luckily I've only had a few students so far that could not meet the academic demands of it. Most of the students know what they're getting into, and they do a good job. The ones that have kind of fallen away, the majority of them, they just don't have the time for it because it does take, I think many students have said, aside from the 2 to 3 hour, sometimes 4-hour courses every week, they maybe put in another additional 4 to 6 hours of study time on top of that. So that can be a lot. So anyway, I'm just making this statement here. So those of you who are interested in participating in the Astrological Apprenticeship program, if you don't want to wait until possibly 2020 or 2021 to start, you may want to consider applying this year because I'm going to stop accepting students after 2018 until we get the rest of the classes that have been going through graduated or approved, I guess I should say. So it's a 4-year program. That's why there's going to be some spaces in regards here. But ideally, many of the students are doing very well, and I might be able to get some of the 4th-year students once we get there to take over some of the paper grading responsibilities. That way I might be able to spend more time with newer students. So this is just a brief announcement for those of you who have been looking at the Astrological Apprenticeship program, who've been considering it, but think you want to wait or you're not quite ready yet. Well, it'll keep happening in some form once we get through the current run of students or the current roster of students. But I'm fairly certain that in 2019, 2020, it's likely I won't be accepting any more apprenticeship students until we have gotten the ones that started 3 years ago completely through the program. All right, because it takes a lot of time on my part, and I really want to make sure that these individuals know their astrological information well. And though they've said it is hard, and although they've said it takes a lot of time, I've been extremely pleased with almost every student who's stuck with the program, because they're learning things that I wished I had learned when I first got started. They're learning things that you don't always get the nuances from just by reading books or going to conferences, things of this nature, because it's meant to be an apprenticeship course, which means we're going through the theory and the practice, because that can be radically different. The theory and the practice, and we're going back to books like Parashara Shastra, Yavana Jatika, Baladipika, Sarvarta Chintamani, and we're looking to see, well, what are these actual statements that are made and how do they apply to the chart? And then we're seeing, well, how does it actually apply in practice? For example, in the yogas course that we're doing right now, many people learn yogas and they just say things like, oh, look, I've got a combination of a trine and angular lord. This is good. This gives what we call Raj Yoga. Well, what the individuals are learning in our course right now is that is the most basic statement that you can make about yogas. And there's mathematics that need to be understood to qualify the yoga, to see, well, how much is it going to give? Is it going to give anything? There's also rules that you don't hear that often. For example, just because a cruel planet rules an angle doesn't necessarily mean it's auspicious. And in fact, most of them are learning that most of the time it's not. So we're really getting to the heart of the matter of the specifics of astrology, which takes a bit of time and attention to detail to make sure we're getting it right. One of the most recent projects that students did, the end of the year 2 students currently, they actually were learning about the Lajatati Avashtas, and they put together everything they've learned up until that point about the Rashis, the houses, the planets, as well as Shadbala, and we had them pick 2 to 3 Avashtas from their chart, and I gave them to their fellow students, again with their permission of course, to write their paper on what they thought that Avashta meant and then give it back. So we actually had some interesting interactions between students, really getting into the nitty-gritty of each other's charts and getting good feedback, to see, well, no, this wasn't quite right, yes, this was, and this is all part of the learning experience as well. So overall, the apprenticeship course is going very well, and I want to keep it going well. So I don't want to just keep accepting students and trying to crank out people who've completed the program. My goal is to make sure those who have started get a very good education. And so we're trying to keep it a little bit smaller and more manageable for this reason. But it's really, really a wonderful time. Personally, I enjoy teaching these students because the things that they learn, the way that they share, the way that they write, it just gives me a lot of encouragement about the future of astrology. And if you want, at AshevilleVedicAstrology.com, a number of the articles that you'll see in that blog are papers from students. So papers students have written for the course. So you can get some insights into what kind of work are they doing, and you can see how are they writing, what are they learning. But anyway, if you were on the fence about considering applying for the Astrological Apprenticeship Program, which will begin probably late January, more likely early February of 2018, please go read the Astrological Apprenticeship course description, Astrological Apprenticeship Program description, meditate on it, contemplate it seriously, and see if there's something you want to do, because there are plenty of other opportunities out there for you to learn, and I'm happy if you find those opportunities and take advantage of them. But if for some reason, if in your mind, through your meditations, through your contemplations, this apprenticeship course speaks to you based on the way it's described at AshevilleVedicAstrology.com, you might want to consider applying this year, because otherwise it might be a little while before I accept new students in this regard. Okay, so be well, and we'll see you soon.